All right, welcome back, computer art students. Lesson 15 is on the Aqua swirl and design. It's going to go right down here at the base. You can kind of see it down here under the educate sign. We're going to use the paintbrush, and the brush size and hardness options, but I'm going to also show you a couple other tricks that I like to use just to make my life easier. I don't really like the quality that I get from brushing freehand with the mouse using the paintbrush in Photoshop. So I like more of kind of a graphic look. So we're going to work through some things and I'll show you some different options, but you can also do this with the paintbrush. But what we want to do is first kind of set in a parameter for where we want this thing to be. So what I'm going to do is start a new layer and label it, what do we call this thing? I forget already. Aqua swirl design. Okay, so I'm going to label it Aqua swirl design. There we go. Okay, and what I'm going to do is just quickly use the paintbrush tool, set up the hardness to 100, and here's our options. Okay, we have with the paintbrush, if you don't know, we have some options along the top. We have the size, we have the mode. If you want more of an overlay or a soft light, you can play around with the mode, see what they do. But I am going to set mine at normal. 100% opacity, and the flow for my airbrush is 100%. I am going to increase the size, however, to different ratios, okay, some different rates, because what I want to do is just kind of plug in a background for my swirl. Now what I want to do is create more of that aqua color that I have in my background. So I'm going to click an aqua color, kind of maybe a deeper one, like that works all right. And what I'm going to do is just hit and create kind of a background. I'm just going to go ahead and create that basic type of background we're looking at. I'm going to drag out my corner kind of like this. I want to see what this looks like. Okay, move that out of the way, click back here, and something like that. That might work. Once again, a lot of this will be covered up by our portrait, so we don't need to get too worried about what it looks like in the end. And we can also erase some of this too. Now we have a background set up. I want to show you that we can go in between applications. So we're actually going to use Illustrator for this next part. Okay, so let's go down to our applications dock, our applications folder, and open up Illustrator. Just click once on the program and it'll open up a blank document. But what I've started is before you. I've created a shape and I'm putting a couple swirls on it. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. In Illustrator is a vector art program. We'll talk about this more as the class proceeds on. But we're only going to use two tools in Illustrator. We're going to use the shape tool, the ellipse tool actually. If you hold down the mouse button on it, you have a whole bunch of different tools. We're going to use the ellipse tool. And we're going to go down here to use, where to go? Yeah, right here. This one, it'll probably show up as a width tool, but we're going to go down to twirl and click on the twirl tool. For starters, however, we're going to just draw in a circle, okay, with the shape tool. So click on the shape ellipse tool, click and drag, and then we're going to create a vector circle. And notice, similar in Photoshop, we can fill the color with a color, but then this one is called the stroke. It's how Illustrator works is that it reads by paths and anchor points. The paths are basically a line, okay? So for instance, if I click on my fill and I click the strike through where I don't have a fill color, you can see the path. Here's the path and here are my anchor points. It's kind of more mathematical rather than being rasterized, which is pixelated colors that we see in Photoshop. So I'm going to turn my color black back on, hit the default, switcheroo here, get rid of the stroke. I don't want a stroke, I just want black. There we go, just like that. And then I'm going to click on my twirl key, my twirl button. And if I double click on this twirl tool, I can get some settings. And right now I have my width set up at 150, my height set up at 150, and my intensity at 100. And you can leave these the same. You can play around with these if you want to. It's just going to give you different options for how it twirls your circle or your shape. So I'm just going to click once off to the center here and just notice what it does. It's just going to gives it torques it. It gives it a nice little twist. And you can do it multiple times if you want to get a little bit more interest in there. You can even click in here, and what it's going to do is create a really big swirl like that. Okay, put a little bit of interest onto it, like so. Play around with it. Get a couple different ones. Notice the different ones I have here. Okay, these are vector images, so vector graphics. So what happens is we have all these anchor points, and it's reading paths, and within the paths are these anchor points which are holding together. But then we can fill these paths with color, rather than reading each individual pixel as color. It's now taking a mathematical coordinate and plugging in the shape that's being made by this coordinate. Okay, so if I want this one, actually I'm going to take this one that I made before. Once you have one that you like, copy it, Apple C or Command C. We can also drag and drop. Then we can go back to our Photoshop and paste it in, Apple V or edit paste. Okay, and what's going to happen is this is going to show up, and it's a smart pixel. It's a smart object, sorry. We can also include it as a shape layer. And let's see what happens when we include it as a shape layer. And there it is. We have a shape, but it turned it black because it's reading as this, sorry, not black, but that blue, because that's what color we had here. Let's move it around. Can we rasterize this shape? Let's see it. Let's go to Layer, Rasterize, and let's click on Shape. So what happened is it turned into a shape layer. Okay, so now if we want to change the color of this, we need to hold down the Command key. Remember we did this before on the thumbnail over here in our shape layer. By the way, I'm going to name this Swirl real quick. Swirl. Okay, now I'm going to click on it to select it, and all I have to do is fill it. Fill it with black. Black is selected. Click OK. Bada bing, there it is. Apple D, deselect, and now we can Apple T to transform this, like scale this thing down. Hold down Shift, scale it down. Now we can put it in place where we want to put it. Okay, and we can duplicate this. We activate it. We can duplicate this now. So hold down the Alt key, move it aside. We can right-click by holding down Control, clicking on it. Oops, hello. Or we can just go like this, edit, transform, flip horizontal. Okay, you can flip them around, create a nice kind of symmetrical look. We can Apple T again, transform it, put it in place. Just get it in line so that it looks nice, so we have a nice kind of border. And you can also use the other ones you've created. If you want to create multiple ones, you can go back to Illustrator. Maybe I want to grab this one now, copy it, Apple C, Command C, go back to Photoshop, paste it in, and continue. Same steps, shape layer. That's a big one. Okay, let's rasterize, layer, rasterize. And what rasterize means is that it's turning it into a Photoshop pixelated image. Okay, and that's always a good thing, but you know, for our purposes, it'll work for us. Select shape one again. Let's call this Swirl 2. Okay, remember, hold down the Command key, click on the thumbnail. It's going to select it, edit, fill with black. Okay, deselect, Apple D or Command D, Command T for transform, and we can scale it down. Okay. I wonder if it cut some things off there. I don't know. Well, let's rotate this. Try to fit it in here the best we can. If it's not perfect, that's all right. We can make some things later. Double click. Let's copy that, or hold down Alt, drag it over, fit it in here. Command T to rotate it, fit it in, to make it look good. Ooh, I kind of like how that fits in there nicely. Double click. All right. So, I mean, we're getting there. It's not quite there, but we're getting close. Where is my image? Nope. Here we go. So it's a little different, but we're still getting some similar effects. So continue to play around with that to try to match it the best you can. I know they're using some kind of graphic that they got or created, but for our purposes, this is one way to do it. Let me show you how we can add on to this now. If you wanted to, you can take the brush tool, and I'm going to set my brush tool to a very light blue, and we can set our size down significantly. Okay. With our brushes, we have some sidebar. We can go over to this arrow, and we have a whole bunch of different brush options. Calligraphic brushes. Let's just click on that one. And we want to append it. What append is going to mean is that it's going to add it to our previous list. So if we scroll this down, here are our calligraphic brushes. And what we can do is just click on one, and now we can paint in some different. We can be very careful and paint in some swirls now if we wanted to. Okay, just create some other layers that weren't typically there before. If you wanted to get really creative with this and plug those in, I'm gonna do a better job with that. But for the most part, you guys can plug around and play around with some of these accents, and just hit up some of these swirls and just play. Try to doctor it in and make it look nice like the original. Okay. However, when you do that, do it on a new layer. I didn't do that on a new layer. So when you do that, start a new layer and type in brush swirls. Okay, and start like that. One last thing I want to show you is there are a lot of cool websites out there that allow you to pull up free brushes, and off the internet you can just download free brushes. For instance, here's one. I just did a Google search of Photoshop free swirl brushes, and this is one of the first websites that pulled up. And similar to what we did in Illustrator, same kind of thing, just more controlled. Probably this artist probably took a little bit more time doing it. But you just click on the download button, and Macs are great because it'll quickly pop up in our downloads. And if we click on this brush set, there it is. What we need to pay attention to is this icon here, design, this brush set. And if we click that open, if we double click on it, it'll automatically put those brushes in our brush option. It's going to be at the very bottom. Now they pull up. When you download it and click on the file, it's going to automatically put in your brushes. So there they have it, right down there. Now I can use any one of these swirls. Obviously, take down the size. I can use any one of these swirls now in my design, which is kind of a cool effect. I like that. It's less work for me to do. These people have done the work to allow us to download it, and it's not really cheating. All right. So good luck with that, with the swirl cloud, and we'll see you next time.